What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? I'm the Godless engineer, and I critically analyze apologists' claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you can stand up and use your voice. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about sex. We will be discussing a bigoted buffoon who is too busy pleasing Jesus to pull her own head out of her ass and realize that she is violating the law. Recently, a teacher at Telltale's daughter's school was caught proselytizing to her health class while discussing sex education. Today, we are going to cover what she said, why it's illegal, and how abstinence-only sex education is dangerous for children.
When you get in 7th grade, we go a tad bit further, and then when you get in 8th grade, we start studying how dangerous sexual thinking and behavior, what it can do to you. Okay? And the one thing is, I'm hoping that you all are brought up by a good family or person, whoever's raising you, that they're teaching you right from wrong, and that it's not okay to be sexually active. If you look at the Bible, it says, sex isn't for love, it is for what?
This is abstinence-only sex education, and it's dangerous for kids. Abstinence-only sex education does not prevent unwanted teenage pregnancies, nor does it protect children against STDs or STIs. In fact, because abstinence-only sex education doesn't even bother to educate children about these things, all three of these statistics regularly go up when abstinence-only sex education is implemented. What is even funnier is that abstinence-only sex education doesn't even work in the Bible. Mary was a fucking virgin, y'all. Also, another interesting fact is that the number of virgin births is a non-zero statistic here in America. Another thing that abstinence-only sex education leaves behind is consent. Now, just saying no to sex all the time is not a proper conversation on consent. Educating children about consent, what it means, and the consequences of violating someone's consent is very important. Another aspect of abstinence-only sex education is the emotional toll that it takes on children. Listen to Elizabeth Smart talk about her abstinence-only sex education that she received just before she was kidnapped and held as a sex slave for many years.
I remember in school one time, I had a teacher who was talking about abstinence. And she said, imagine you're a stick of gum. And when you engage in sex, that's like getting chewed. And then if you do that lots of times, you're going to become an old piece of gum. And who's going to want you after that? Well, that's terrible, but nobody should ever say that.
There are countless numbers of analogies that are used here, and all of them denigrate anybody who has had sex before marriage, but they particularly focus on girls and their worth being that it's tied to their virginity. It indoctrinates children to think that they are worthless or somehow broken if they have sex before marriage. And these analogies do not discriminate between rape or consenting sexual intercourse. It's all the same in all of these analogies. It doesn't matter the context in which it happened. The fact is that it happened, and now you're this dirty, broken, useless thing. It emotionally ties the person's self-worth to their virginity. It's disgusting and emotionally toxic. In all aspects, abstinence-only sex education is dangerous to children.
When is the time you should?
After marriage.
After marriage. I have got so many kids that were so against me in my first and second period, you would have a heart attack. It makes me sick how they believe. And I'm thinking the upbringing that you guys are having from your parents. I'm not saying nothing bad about your parents. It's just different nowadays. And I hate it.
So basically, now she's just lamenting over the fact that parents aren't teaching their children that they should be ashamed of having sexual thoughts, or that they should somehow feel bad about thinking about sex. She's literally shaming the children for having parents who aren't teaching them this. She's shaming both the kids and the parents at this point. Honestly, I don't really care how they used to do it or how they used to teach it. We should not be teaching abstinence-only sex education anymore. Like I laid out before, it's dangerous for these children. Hate it or not, you have to live with the fact that you should be teaching proper sex education, not this God bullshit.
They say all you do is you everything you're teaching about sexual transmitted disease stuff, you keep referring back to the Bible. And I said, because I'm right, but you can't force somebody to believe in God. And that's whether you do or not, that's your opinion. But I just can't get my head into there where people don't really think there's I don't know, I'm just kind of shocked. They'll know one day, won't they?
No, teacher, we will not find out one day. I mean, sure, we'll find out whether or not there's an afterlife, but the insinuation that you're making here is that we're going to end up in hell because we didn't believe. I don't believe that hell exists, so that's definitely not going to be the way that we figure things out. Let me just list my grievances with this particular section. First, I don't care what God thinks about sex. In fact, what you regurgitated in your class right here is not even the only time that it's okay to have sex in the Bible. It's not just after marriage. You forgot to mention all of the other valid relationships that God recognizes, like man and his concubine, man and his slave girl, man with, I guess, multiple wives still works within your marriage concept, but then you also have multiple women along with multiple concubines. In fact, the chosen people in the Old Testament originated from a guy who had 2 wives that he bought, by the way, and their concubine servant girls. Second, the insinuation that parents don't teach their children your bullshit or bad is just ridiculous, and it's very detrimental to the children. Third, this is illegal for a good reason. Every parent is going to have their own ideas about how their child should grow in their faith, or non-faith, if you will. The Establishment Clause is there to protect everybody from having somebody else's religion or no religion being forced upon them by the state. The founders had enough of that shit. That's why they broke away from England and established their own fucking country. You, as a public school teacher, are considered an arm of the state. This was all decided in the Supreme Court cases of Engel v. Vital and Abington School District versus Shemp. Engel v. Vital was a court case where mostly Jewish children were being forced to say a Christian prayer every day before school. The mostly Jewish families took offense to this and made a federal case about it. The mostly Jewish families ended up winning in the Supreme Court and had state-mandated or led prayer in schools ruled unconstitutional. Abington School District v. Shemp established that Bible readings as well as prayer in school were unconstitutional. Any form of a public school showing preference to one religion over all others, or no religion, is unconstitutional. I don't know why some of these people are so fucking dense about this subject. This right here is why we cannot allow them an inch in the public schools. We can't allow religious symbols to be placed in public classrooms or on public grounds in general. Because if you give them an inch, they will definitely take a mile. The parents should most definitely have control over the faith that their children are taught. At least up until a point where the children become adults and they don't have to listen to that shit anymore if they choose not to. It is not the public school's responsibility to teach our children religion. And that is exactly what she's doing here. I also loved in this section how she seems to be thoroughly confused about atheism.
That's what worries me. I don't want anybody to be lost. So I try to squeeze him in a little bit without getting in too much trouble. But there's so many kids that don't believe in God and they don't believe in values. And they don't care whatever they do, however way they want to dress, whatever way they want to act. If they want to be with a boy or a girl, that's their choice. And that's fine. I'm not arguing. I'm just saying I don't believe in that.
I don't really give a fuck what you believe in. You should teach proper sex education in your health class. Also, why are atheists considered lost? I'm not lost. I'm right fucking here. Anybody out there that's an atheist is not lost. Why do you think we're lost? Other than the fact that we're not part of your religion, so that means that we're lost. I don't really give a fuck if your religion considers me lost. You shouldn't be saying this to children. Also, I love how in this section she seems to single out the LGBTQ crowd because she's saying, I don't care if you want to like boys or girls. I'm just saying that I don't believe in that. Oh, okay, Teach. I get that you don't believe in it. That really doesn't fucking matter right now, does it? And it's really not your place to say so in the classroom.
And it's just a fight battle. I'm trying to teach you guys, when you learn about the body, you need to understand that when your hormones start being released, you're going to start having a little bit of sexual feelings or thoughts. That's normal. Everybody does that. The thing is, you have to learn to control those hormones.
Yes, proper sex education will definitely help these children handle their hormones. Some states are really restrictive on their sex education classes, or even what can be taught in a sex ed class. I mean, just look at this one teacher who had to get really creative in order to teach his students how to put on a condom.
So if I'm putting on a sock, what I do is I start with a sock and I want to pinch out the air out of the tip of the sock because I want to make sure that there's room for my toes when I'm engaging in a shoe activity. Then I take the sock and I put it on top of my foot, and all I do is just roll it down. Just roll it down. Now some people stop right here and just only put that sock on halfway. That's not how you do it. You want to take your sock and you want to roll it all the way down your foot. You want to roll it all the way down your foot, and then you can put it inside your shoe.
Because when they start getting released, yeah, you're going to start thinking differently. That's just normal action. That's what happens. Okay? And it's going to happen between 9 and 18 or 19 years old. You're going to start thinking that way. Okay? There's nothing wrong with it. The thing is you've got to choose what are you going to do about those feelings and thoughts. And if you're brought up with morals and values, then God's going to be there to help you make better decisions.
Oh, go fuck yourself. First of all, there's the insinuation that if you don't believe in God, then you don't have morals or values. That's just straight up wrong. And at this point, you are thoroughly forcing your own religion, your own version of whatever denomination of Christianity you subscribe to, you're forcing onto these kids. Here are some interesting questions to be asked if anybody were to say dumb shit like this. Where is God when Catholic priests that were and still are violating young children? Where is God when anybody in any denomination of Christianity rapes or sexually assaults another person? The very fact that God allows these things to happen, for whatever reason you want to come up with, be it free will or anything else, it inherently shows that God is not going to be there to help you with your hormones. She's pushing a falsehood as a fact, and it's just downright disgusting.
You're going to mess up, right? We all mess up all the time. Okay? I'm just trying to tell you to be very careful, because when the hormones start being released, it's like they're uncontrollable. But you guys are the ones that you've got to get a grip on on those hormones, because they will ruin your life if you don't.
Well, I would say that your actions will ruin your life. Your hormones are not going to ruin your life. Your actions that may or may not be influenced by your hormones are what could possibly ruin your life. And hey, Teach, do you know how you might be able to circumvent any of these negative repercussions that these kids could suffer because they didn't get a grip on their hormones? Proper sex education! That's what will help them, not just telling them that God is going to help them keep their hormones in check. That's not going to do shit for them. How are you going to end this section right here of your class? By telling them that they've got to get their hormones under control, but you don't equip them with the tools that would allow them to keep their hormones in check. You're not talking about the very things that would help them do that. This is why a proper set standard for sex education in this country is needed. Because as it stands right now, most states out there get to just liberally define what their sex education courses will cover. And a lot of times they won't publicly discuss what is actively being taught in their sex education courses. That video that we saw earlier of the guy putting on the shoe, and that was an analogy for a dick and a condom, he had to do that because there's a law in Mississippi that restricts teachers from using condoms in order to show kids how to use a condom. How fucking dumb is this? These laws, like the one in Mississippi, restricts teachers from being able to properly educate kids on safe sex. There's still this flawed mentality that abstinence-only sex education is the best type of sex education, and it's mainly driven by religious ideals. All it does is fail to prepare kids for puberty and limit their understanding and knowledge for when they do become sexually active and how to have sex in a safe way. Well, heathens, that's going to be it for today. I do have Telltale's video linked down below if you want to share that out, or if you want to share this video out, if you found some really great information in this video. I'd really love for you to let me know down below in the comments what you thought about the clip, or what you thought about anything surrounding sex education in America or the world in general. Just let me know down below in the comments. And hey, while you're down there, why don't you smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.